Adorable treasured fox, divine doctor mother overturning the heavens. Chapter 61, Xuanhuan searches for uncle. Inside the ancestral hall of the Bai house, Bai Xiao was currently leaning against the wall behind him as a burning flame courses through his body. Little Rice, I think this is where uncle is being kept. Let's go inside and see. From outside the door, a young tender voice drifts inside this quiet building. Bai Xiao wanted to call out, but by the time he opened his mouth, nothing came out due to how parched his throat was. Kriak tilde. The door to the ancestral hall slides open, catching the attention of the barely conscious occupant inside. From his narrow eyelids, the young lad can see his precious nephew standing there looking at him. Uncle. Upon seeing the young man lying there on the ground, the little boy rushes inside with his white kitty. Plopping to the floor, the first thing Bai Xiao attempts to do was to touch his uncle's forehead only to be shocked by the heat. Oh no, you have a fever. Although a martialist definitely had a stronger body with a better immune system, but that doesn't mean they won't get sick. I'm okay. That voice was harsh and dry. Likely afraid his nephew would be worried for him, Bai Xiao barely manages to force a smile. Xuanhuan, how did you get in here? Mother is worried about you, so she had Little Rice come find you. However, I miss you too, so I came along. From beginning to end, Bai Xuanhuan's small little hand had never stopped moving. Sorting through his deep pocket, he brought out a pile of small bottles and jars, all of which are filled with Dan pills of various effects. I'm sorry uncle, but I didn't learn any medical skills from mother. I don't know which of these can cure you. Since childhood he only had interest in poison. As for the methods of saving others, he honestly didn't have a clue. Maybe, a glow fills the boy's eye as he raises his head. Maybe you can try them all. This is, looking down at the indicated containers, doubt could be seen in Bai Xiao's gaze. Still as innocent and bright as ever, these are mine and Little Rice's snack collection. Mother prepared them for us. Snacks. Looking at that small delicate face, a current of warmth filled Bai Xiao's heart. There's no need, you two keep it for yourself, okay? In that instant, disappointment promptly replaced that smile. I thought uncle would definitely like my snacks because my three grandchiefs would always fight over them. Twitching in the mouth, Bai Xiao thought he was hallucinating there for a moment. Fight for some snacks? How old are they to do something so childish? Dummy little master. Little Rice makes a disdainful look. Do you think humans are all like us, able to eat Dan pills like snacks? If you have him take all of these, then watch him explode. Blinking his innocent eye, the boy clearly didn't get it. I am mother's son and uncle is mother's brother. Why can't he eat 'em like us? Rolling his tiger eyes at the ridiculous question, Little Rice went ahead to ignore the child and began rummaging through the bottles with his claw. A short moments later, he found a certain bottle and hands it to Bai Xiao. If you take one, then your cold will be better. In honest truth, Bai Xiao was a little frightened because this was the first time he's ever heard of someone using Dan pills to treat a cold. But looking at that anticipating eye of his nephew, he can't bear to disappoint the child. Uncorking the container, he carefully pours the content out. Adorable treasured fox, divine doctor mother overturning the heavens. Chapter 62, Bai Xuanhuan's mad. A faint fragrance lingered out of the bottle, enough to instantly wake Bai Xiao from his dizzying state. Shocked by this, he stared at the boy while pouring the content out. From the mouth of the container, an emerald green pill rolled out. This is your snack. Bai Xiao showed shock in his face. These two can't be bullying me for a lack of education, right? Making a heavy nod, Bai Xuanhuan points at the green pill with his innocent and naive finger. This is my most favorite sugar bean, and there is more, all different flavors. Inhaling deeply, Bai Xiao heavily suppresses his inner urge to cry out. Grabbing at the boy's shoulder, he uses the most serious tone he can make. Xuanhuan, I am formally telling you this. Those aren't snacks. They are Dan pills, Dan pills. Regardless of where these came from, it's a travesty to treat them like candy. Although he had never eaten a Dan pill before, but he had at least seen some. Therefore, Bai Xiao only needed a glance to recognize the ones here. It's no wonder those grandchiefs are fighting over these things, who wouldn't? Scratching the back of his head, but, I have a lot of these snacks, so much that I can't even eat them all. If you like, I can give them to you uncle. In this moment, an intangible hand just squeezed at the poor man's heart. A lot. Can't finish eating. This is too overwhelming. Little master, do you remember the effects of these pills? Little Rice first made a despising look at the little troublemaker, then shifted his gaze back to the young man. There are too many varieties here. Wait until Ona comes back and she will tell you what to take. First eat that green pill and you will recover quickly. Looking down at the object in question, Baisio nods in silence and pulled it up to his lip. It melted as soon as it entered his mouth. Like a clear current in a river, the fluid gradually lowered the burning temperature from his forehead. Xuanhuan, I'm much better now. You and Little Rice should hurry and leave before the rest of the Bai family notices you too. Now that his condition had become better, Baisio can think more clearly and knew it's getting late based on how dark the sky was. Uncle, blinking his big eyes, the little troublemaker asks, is it because of those baddies that you can't go attend Mother's banquet? Shaking his head, Baisio explained, starting last night I was already in high fever. You wrong sent someone to check up on me but they left right after seeing my condition. Did they not send a doctor for you? Wrinkling his little face, a tinge of anger could be heard in the tone. If I never get up again from sickness then that would be perfect for that woman. Why would she find a doctor for me? Baisio made a bitter smile, saddened by the truth of it. Little Rice, waving his tiny hands with annoyance, let's go. Xuanhuan, seeing the steaming appearance of his nephew, Baisio rushes to stand up. Where are you going? Of course to make trouble. Raising his chin, that delicate and childish face was already showing an aura of a king. Don't be impulsive, Xuanhuan. Hurrying to grab for that small hand, Baisio makes a worried face and swiftly came up with an excuse. Your mother doesn't want to be exposed yet. If you burst in there out of impulse, your mother will definitely be angry. Adorable treasured fox, divine Dr. Mother overturning the heavens. Chapter 63, Revenge for Mother Part 1. Sure enough, once Bai Yan's name was brought up the little troublemaker quickly started to get hesitant. I just need to not expose myself. In the brief moment where Baisio was stunned by that outburst, the little rascal had already stormed out of the ancestral hall with Little Rice in his arms. Very soon, that small figure had disappeared and was firmly heading for the front end of the manor. Ellipsis. Stopping after running for so long, Xuanhuan pinches Little Rice's plump round cheek and asked, do you know where that bad woman is? Of course I know, come with me. Jumping out of the boy's arm, the baby tiger began running for a certain direction. It's very quiet tonight with only the occasional servants passing by. This of course held no difficulty for the troublemakers to dodge. Not long after, they are now standing before a room still illuminated by the light inside. Little Rice, you wait here for me. Xuanhuan first hid the tiger away in a corner, then cautiously crouched forward towards the doorway in fear of disturbing the ones inside. Ellipsis. In the room, old Madame Yu was sitting on the couch with Yurong by her side. Aside from the pair, there's also a maid silently standing by to await their order. Wrong, it's been so many years, why is there no movement in your stomach? The old woman's face was very unpleasant. If you don't give birth to a son then this Bai family will eventually be given to that bastard child. Yurong went stiff as she shifted her gaze down to her flat stomach. A bitter smile escaped her as she did so. Mother, I don't have any solution either. Ever since I gave birth to Ji, there's been no movement again. For that, I even went to seek out a pharmacist to check on me. The doctor claims my body is very healthy so the problem might be on Zheng Xiang's body. Blinking at the statement, old Madame Yu frowns. So long as the problem isn't on you then that's easy to solve. Mother, what do you mean by this? She looked up in surprise and came eye to eye with her mother's distorted face. Everything in the Bai house should be ours. We mustn't give it to Baisio, that bastard child. The way the old woman said it had madness in there like it's the only truth. Therefore, you must find another man to get you pregnant. You must have a son. Wahh. Yurong was so shocked that she jolted up from her seat. Even the hot tea beside her were knocked over and fell over her hand. Despite the heat, she remains oblivious to the pain and continues to make an incredulous look on her face. What are you talking about, mother? How can you make me betray Zheng Xiang? What's more, if this matter becomes known to him, Hatred gripped the old madam's face. Then do you want everything in this house to fall into that little bastard's hand? Why should he get to take away what belongs to us? But even if I do give birth to a son, Baisio is still the heir to the Bai house. And the world knows that everything this family has was brought over by Lanyu. If we do this, then we might be thrown into the limelight of gossip. Yurong's heart was a little worried, but not for the possibility of Baisio stealing her fortune, it's the fear of being insulted by the world. Isn't there an old saying of if you marry a chicken follow the chicken, if you marry a dog follow the dog? Lanyu had already married into the Bai house, so whatever dowry she has belongs to this family. You are now the mother of the house, making those dowries yours. Who could say more? Coldly grunting, a sickening amount of darkness could be seen in those old eyes. As for Baisio, I will have ways to ruin him. Adorable treasured fox, divine doctor mother overturning the heavens. Chapter 64, Revengeful Mother Part 2. Furthermore, seeing the worry still hasn't dispersed from her daughter's eye, old Madame Yu follows up with more. Don't forget, Ruo is crown princess of the Lu Huo kingdom. Eventually she will rule over this nation and you will be the mother of the queen. Which woman out there can be more powerful than you by then? When Yurong heard this, her face finally loosened. Nodding with approval, that's right. I still have 2 daughters of noble status. Their future will definitely be at the peak of this nation, not something that bitch Bai Yan can compare with. Bai Ruo was already set to be queen, that leaves only Bai Ji fighting for the position of sovereign princess. Although the identity of that Daikang was inferior to the crown prince, but his personal strength was far higher. Once Bai Ji marries that man, she will be the mother-in-law of both the crown prince and sovereign prince of this nation. But Yurong seems to have remembered something. But would Lord Kang marry Ji as we want? Making a mocking chuckle, don't assume just because that Lord Kang is powerful that he can do whatever he likes. He's only a titled royalty. In the end, he can only rely on the king to grant him his authority. If Ruo hands down a decree when she's queen, what else can he do? Refuse. Yurong laughed. You are right on this. With Ruo on our side, there's no need to be afraid Lord Kang wouldn't marry our Ji. I lost to Lanyu back then, but my daughters are making up for it in every aspect. Seeing her daughter thinking like that, old Madame Yu's face gradually calmed down. Just then, she suddenly noticed movement outside. Who? Only silence answered her. Giving a signal to the maid beside them, old Madame Yu reveals a murderous light in her old eyes. You go open the door, I want to see who dares to eavesdrop on us. Yes, madam. Doing as ordered, she swings open the door. The night was quiet. Under the cold moonlight, a silvery fox stood at the doorway. Soft and cute all over, this thing was like cotton candy in how adorable he was. Clearly still a baby that hasn't made it to adulthood. So it's a fox. Old Madame Yu relaxes again. She suspected someone was eavesdropping on their conversation but never expected it to be a fox. Mother, I think this fox's eyes are very familiar, I seem to have seen it somewhere. Yurong frowned. Suddenly, a tyrannical face which causes her to go white appeared in her mind. No. I must be thinking too much of this. This fox, how can it be similar to Daikang, the sovereign prince? Old Madame Yu ignored her daughter's antics. Staring at the baby fox, she blinked a few times like she's in deep thought. I remember the last time Ruo said she wanted a demon beast. Unfortunately I couldn't invite a tamer for the task. Thank the heavens, even fate is on our side, sending this young fox to our doorstep on its own. Demon beasts are difficult to tame once they reach adulthood, but if it was done during infancy, the animal will naturally submit to its owner. Listening to how these people easily decided his own fate in a few short words, that pair of silvery eyes promptly narrowed into a slit. In one tap of his hind legs, the little thing had raised its claws for Yu Hong's hair. Adorable treasured fox, divine doctor mother overturning the heavens. Chapter 65, Revengeful Mother Part 3. Catching onto Yurong's hair, the fox's claw went deep, so deep that it even ripped out a portion of her scalpel skin. This instantly causes the woman to scream with pain. You little beast, how dare you hurt me? In her fit of rage, the panicking woman makes an attempt to swipe at her attacker to knock it off. Not missing the danger coming its way, the fox immediately swung to the side and escaped the hand, all the while not forgetting to make a mocking face at its victim. This of course causes you wrong to go green with rage. Someone come catch this stinking fox. Wiping the seeping blood from her scalp, she yelled in frustration. It didn't take long, merely seconds for a group of guards to rush inside. Swish. Knowing it's time to bolt, the fox makes an outstanding somersault into the air and attempts to make one final landing on Yurong's face. Thankfully for the woman herself, her reflexes are relatively fast. Otherwise, she could have expected some serious scars on this swipe. Even so, one of her hands had become a bloody mess after she used it to take the hit. Kill this thing. Kill it. Became twisted in her expression, she glared daggers at the menacing fox. But it's already too late. Before the guards could even make a grab for it, the fox had jumped right out the window and disappeared into the darkness of the night. You bunch of useless things. How can you not catch a single fox? In her moment, she heavily stomps at one of the guards. It's unsure if it's her illusion or not, but right now the backside of her hand felt very itchy due to the scratch. Enough. This can't be blamed on the guards here. It's all that fox's fault. Old Madame Yu frowns with a strange light in her eye. However, since it's here, it won't be able to escape so easily considering how big our estate is. Have our people fan out and search. Yes, madam. The guards lowered their heads and respectfully complied. As soon as the guards retreated, the old woman promptly shifted her gaze back at her daughter. Did you forget what I told you before? No matter how dissatisfied you are, you cannot show it in front of the public. But the fox is too vexing. Just the thought of that little thing was enough to make her veins pop. Furthermore, the itch on the back of her hand was starting to get worse. At this rate, she might even scratch the skin off. Don't worry, it won't be able to escape our grasp. Old Madame Yu smiles sinisterly because nothing has ever escaped her will when she wanted them. The buy house was so, and so was Lan Yu's dowry. Ellipsis. Just as old Madame Yu was scheming again by Xiakan, the little boy was already running towards the location where he hid Little Rice. At this moment, the baby tiger was in the middle of licking his paws on the grass in an elegant fashion. Seeing the rushing figure coming his way, he asked, "Is everything done?" That bad woman is scheming against Uncle. She also called Mother a bitch. Raising his silver fur, the bloodthirsty nature of his lineage could already be heard in his angry voice. Blinking at the remark, Little Rice tilted his head in confusion. Since when did the little owner here get so nice to let those people off the hook? Likely becoming aware of the tiger's question. Bai Xiakan giggles with delight. Did you forget already? I only have interest in poisoning people. Just now, I used some of my stuff on her body. Adorable treasured fox, divine Dr. Mother overturning the heavens. Chapter 66, Crawling a Dog Hole. Quickly, I don't believe we will miss that little fox if we separate into different paths. Just then right after the voice passed through the area, Bai Xiakan's body swiftly slammed into a patch of grass nearby. Using the greenery as cover, he hides himself with this camouflage. We should hurry now before Mistress gets impatient. Little Master, we should first take our leave from here in order to not arouse suspicion. Licking his paw, Little Rice first observed the passing guards to make sure the coast was clear. Then without hesitation, he dashed up from the grass and made a run for it. I know a way to leave, follow me. Bai Xiakan wasn't very pleased with this. Nevertheless, he cautiously got up and followed the fury cat from behind. If not for his mother's instruction before, there's no way he would listen to Little Rice's word right now and continue on with his rampage. Without issue, the pair dodged every guard they came across, right up until Bai Xiakan saw a certain dog hole in the wall. Even his childish voice had changed from the sight. Bad kitty. You actually want me to crawl into this? Well, what do you want? This whole mess is your doing. Do you want to disregard your mother's order? Rolling his tiger eyes, Little Rice sarcastically rebukes the question coming his way. Even though Bai Xiakan was in his fox form right now, that's not enough to hide that horrid expression he's making. He wanted to cry. Humph, you only know how to threaten me with mommy. Just a dog hole, as if I'm scared. As disgusting as this act was, it's far better than making her mother angry. While the baby tiger behind him was making a mischievous smile, Bai Xiakan can only feel like he's heading off to the execution ground. Closing his eyes, he accepts his fate and zoomed through the hole in one fell dash without looking back. Once the boy was through, Little Rice didn't dally around either and crawled through the dog hole too. Once out and about again on the spacious street, everything was bright and wonderful again. To make this moment even better, Bai Xiakan had caught sight of a certain red figure coming down the street. His eyes beamed with happiness. Just as he was ready to call out to the woman, he promptly halted his move when he noticed another woman from behind. "Cousin, hurry and look. The fox over there looks so cute." Dragging Bai Ji with her, Lan Xiaoyan girl cousin was walking next to Bai Yan when she noticed the animal. As the daughter of the land house, although she's not competent enough to contract a demon beast, but at least she's had the opportunity to witness those strong and beautiful creatures. However, none of the foxes she's seen in her life could compare to this silvery fox in appearance. This was especially true for those clean big eyes. They are like a spring pool, making her heart thump with excitement and captivation. Bai Xiakan could care less about the girl's little antic. Moving his foxy body, he dashed into Bai Yan's embrace without a second thought. Towards that soft fluffy tail caressing her nose and cheek, Bai Yan couldn't resist pinching the little rascal's nose for a tease. "Why are you here?" First glancing at the girl walking next to his mother, the boy didn't speak. Instead, he points his tiny paw over to Little Rice down at the ground. The meaning here was that he came with the baby tiger. Slightly narrowing her eyes, Bai Yan got it now. Since Little Rice had left the Bai family's estate, it means her brother's situation was good enough to allow this leeway. Adorable treasured fox, divine doctor mother overturning the heavens. Chapter 67, I want a sister. Cousin. Lan Xiaoyan girl cousin who was standing beside Bai Yan was staring at the fox, her eyes sparkled with desire. Naturally, this horrified the little guy. Trembling in his mother's arm, Bai Xiakan squirms further into that body in hopes of somehow gaining more distance from that person. "I will find you a fox later." He won't do. Bai Yan never once thought of selling her own son out, therefore she immediately rejected the idea before it was even brought up. Okay then. There's clear disappointment in the girl's eye, nevertheless, she can only reluctantly put her thoughts to rest on either furry little thing, but you must find me another just as beautiful in the future. Just as beautiful as her own child. Not wanting to dally around this topic, Bai Yan casually pulls the conversation away. "We can talk when the times come. First toss Bai Ji at the door, then we can go." "Cousin, are you not going to look for your brother Bai Xiao?" Lan Xiaoyan sounded a bit surprised by what she heard. Isn't cousin not worried about her brother? Why is she leaving now that she's here? He is safe. A smirk escapes Bai Yan as a flash of danger filled her eyes. In the future there will be those from the flower brothel protecting Bai Xiao, meaning she can freely go carry out her business and do those ***** things. Little Rice, you take Xiakan back with you. As soon as her words came, Bai Yan could feel her sleeve being tugged at. Looking down, what came into view were a set of beautiful tearful eyes gazing up at her. This promptly softened her down to the core. Making a helpless sigh, she can only yield. "Little Rice, you go back first. I will bring him back tomorrow." Meow. Giving one last glance at the pair of mother and son, Little Rice turns away and disappeared around the street. "Let's go. We're going home." Embracing the little guy in her arms, Bai Yan led the way for the Lan family's estate. When she returned again, her uncle Lan Yu still hasn't returned yet despite being the first one going out to inquire about Bai Xiao. Based on this situation, it's safe to assume the guy won't be coming back anytime soon. As worrying as this may be, Lan Xiaoyan didn't have that kind of deep mentality to worry. To her, the girl only wanted to play with the fox by following Bai Yan back to her room. However, when she tried, the end result was a direct slam of the door in her face, close enough to hit her nose. Rubbing her sore front, Lan Xiaoyan looked aggrieved by the treatment. Fortunately for her, she was smart enough to remember the promise. Only with that did she relent. "Oh well, at least cousin promised to let me pick a fox later. No need to be so eager." With her good mood, she gives one last look at the closed door behind her and walked away. Ellipsis. After waiting for Lan Shaoyun's fading footstep to disappear completely, only then did Bai Yan exhale a sigh of relief and turned her gaze back to the little fox on the table. Under the swaying lamplight, that small little figure begins to change. Growing and growing, it transforms into a milky white doll of a child. Xiakan, what happened to your uncle? She asked with worry in her voice. Mother, that bad woman is so hateful. The little boy looked steaming from how pink his cheeks were. She wouldn't even get a doctor for uncle when he's sick. I also overheard them calling you bad names. And then, the mother of that bad woman told her to make babies with another person. Mother, can you also make more babies? I want a sister to keep me company. Blinking his sparkling innocent eyes, Bai Xiakan pleads. Making an awkward cough, Bai Yan rigidly replies, you don't even have a father, how am I supposed to make a sister for you? Adorable treasured fox, divine doctor mother overturning the heavens. Chapter 68, Kick him. But, innocently tilting his little head, the bad woman can find someone else to make a baby, why can't mother do it too? Wang Xiaopeng from next door has a little sister, I also want one. Wang Xiaopeng, who? Bai Yan asked. They live next door. Their family has a lot of money, that's why Wang Xiaopeng can be so fat. Note. Wand is the surname and Xiaopeng little chubby in Chinese. After a brief musing, Bai Yan understood what's going on now. This neighbor the boy's referring to wasn't from the Holy Land, it's the family living next door to the manor she prepared here in the city. Don't assume just because Bai Xiakan's intelligence was higher than a normal person that he can ignore the things a child should do. He needs friends around his age to play with. Oh baby. Picking up her son, she hugs the little fella and runs her fingers around the nose as a tease. One can't just make a sister because they want to, these things need fate. You are still young so you don't know. Wait until you grow up some more, then you will get it. In response, Bai Xiakan nods like he understands. He may be envious of his newfound friend Wang Xiaopeng for having a lovely little sister, but in comparison, he rather listened to his mother's word over having a sister. Then can we go find father? If father wants to take me away, can you also come with us? If they find father then a sister will just be a matter of time. But what if your father only wants you and not I, your mother? The arrival of little Bai Xiakan wasn't of love, it's the result of an accident when she needed a man to cure her poison. Stunned by the question, Bai Xiakan realized he never once thought of this issue. Going quiet, the little boy went into deep contemplation, as deep as a child can go anyways. Then after a good few minutes, his big eyes literally glowed with brilliance. Mother is so good so father can't possibly do that. But if he does, then I also don't want him. Squirming closer against her mother's chest, he tightly weaves his hands around her neck. In this world, he can lose everything except his mother here. Getting such affection from her son like so, Bai Yan unconsciously broke out into a gratifying smile. In this life and her previous one she has done a lot of things she regretted, but giving birth to this child was not one of them. Suddenly, the evening breeze whistled into her nose and she could smell a certain familiar scent. Going ghastly white in the face, she jolted up from the chair and quickly brought out a pill. This pill can cover your aura. Swallow it now and hide under the bed. Remember, no matter what happens you mustn't come out. Before the boy could even get a grasp on the situation, his mother had already forced the pill down his throat and stuffed him under the bed. In the next moment, a dazzling figure popped in. Dominating, enchanting, seductively evil, none of these words could properly describe this man. Bai Yan lost her breath there. She had seen him earlier tonight, but never in this fashion. That silvery hair, that purple robe, and that peerless face, it's no wonder every girl in this kingdom would fall heads over heels for this man known as the Sovereign Prince. Sadly, the more beautiful things are, the more dangerous they are. This man was like a flower hanging off of a cliff. If not careful, one will fall into the deep ravine below, meeting their end in a crushing fall like the stuff they call love. What are you thinking? Just when Bai Yan was in a daze, the man had already come face to face with her. Against that intoxicating breath, her senses were knocked right back to reality. Then when she realized how close they were again, Bai Yan didn't hesitate in the least and aimed her feet straight for that rude figure. Adorable treasured fox, divine doctor mother overturning the heavens. Chapter 69, Forced Kiss. Her feet failed to reach the man because it was firmly caught by those big hands. Narrowing those dangerous eyes, a smirk escaped him. What you are doing is called abandoning your benefactor after achieving your goal. Have you forgotten how you used me at the banquet? You came of your own accord. How can you blame me for that? Bai Yan sends an eyeful at the person. If it wasn't for this man provoking herself first, there's no way she would have used him to infuriate Bai Zhengxiang and the rest. Bai Yan. Dai Kang's voice sounded agitated as he pressed in on the ungrateful woman. She wanted to retreat, but behind her was nothing but a wall. Then what do you want to do? Of course it's to do you. The man's voice sounded extremely dangerous, especially how bloodthirsty those eyes were. It made her recall that night where she went wild with that person 6 years ago. With no escape possible, Bai Yan's brain began to think. She's desperate right now to come up with a countermeasure. Bump. It's unsure if it's due to Bai Xiaocan being too excited right now, but the boy just had to hit his head against the bed at this moment. Naturally, this caught the attention of the two adults in the room. You are hiding someone. The air around that masculine body instantly went cold. His tone there weren't that of someone asking, it's a confirmation. Dai Kang. Bai Yan rushes to grab at his sleeve. In desperation, she forces an awkward smile. I'm keeping a cat, yes, a cat. From Dai Kang's wording so far, she's certain the one she raped 6 years ago was none other than this person here. Therefore, she mustn't allow him to discover the existence of her son. Meow. In cooperation with his mother's lie, Bai Xiaocan intelligently imitates the call of cat, thus loosening the tense moment in Bai Yan's heart. Fortunately, this time the boy was being obedient, otherwise she truly wouldn't know how to solve this whole mess. But very quickly, her calmed heart was forced back up again. Forcefully pushing her hands away, Dai Kang ignored her attempt to stop him and strode towards the bed. Bai Yan felt like her heart's about to explode right now. Then out nowhere, her body moved by itself and ran for the person in front that's about to lift the bed over. In this critical moment where all things mattered, Dai Kang suddenly found himself being mushed against a plump set of lips. With his head firmly set in place by those slender hands, he couldn't move even if he wanted to. In which he doesn't, to be clear. In reality, Bai Yan was already regretting her move the moment she kissed him. Though their encounters were short, merely 3 times thus far, it's more than enough for Bai Yan to have a good grasp on his character. This man has a very serious issue with cleanliness. So long as the things are his, he will never allow anyone to touch it, let alone his lips. However, Bai Yan couldn't care about those details anymore. What she knows, the only thing she knows now, was that unless she did this and pulled the man away from the bed, her son will be caught and they might be forced to separate. Even if the consequences of her actions here were inciting the fury of this dangerous man here. Yet, no movement or reaction came even after a long while, which made her involuntarily open her eyes to meet that bloodthirsty pupil in front. Releasing her pressure, Bai Yan makes a natural smile like what she did meant nothing. You were too beautiful so I couldn't control myself there. Beautiful. Dai Kang's eye turned sharp. If he remembers correctly, the first time this woman met him on the street was the same. She had used the same wording to address himself. Oh, she even has the nerve to molest me here. Adorable treasured fox, divine doctor mother overturning the heavens. Chapter 70, Who Provoked Who? What? Afraid now? 6 years ago you raped me, and now 6 years later you force-kissed me. Now then, how should I go over these 2 accounts with you? I told you already, 6 years ago wasn't me. In any case, there's no way she will admit to the truth. We can ignore the matter 6 years ago. That I can have someone investigate thoroughly. Now, let's go over this one right now. In one move, Dai Kang overwhelms Bai Yan and forces her up against the bed by binding both of those delicate hands together. Meanwhile on the back, her legs are now pressed into submission with the man's own body weight. Dai Kang, you, Despite her anger and protest, Bai Yan didn't even get to finish her words there when it became sealed. His kiss was very rough. To the point where she's bleeding on the lip. For a moment there, all they could taste was blood and iron around their tongues. Regardless of her struggles though, Dai Kang only got worse here like a wild animal. Slowly moving his free hand downwards to the leg, he attempts to tear open any form of barricade that gets in his way for the prize. As soon as the cold sensational touch of his fingers came remotely close to her spot, Bai Yan knew what this bastard was trying to do now. Infuriated by the audacity of this, she looks him straight in the eye with a powerful gleam. This should have been a sign for any man to stop, assuming they are not forcing this, but Daikang couldn't control himself anymore. That scent, that aroma, it's like an aphrodisiac to his nose. Hypnotic and addictive, forcing him to not let go. In the past he had always been extremely disgusted with the opposite sex. However, this one kiss here not only didn't gross him out, it only made him want to explore further and further. Bai Yan desperately wanted to break free because at any moment now it's a definite that she's going to be violated here tonight. To make things even more deplorable, their son was currently hiding underneath the bed. Fortunately for her, in her last struggling wiggle just now, one of her naughty foot was able to break from its imprisonment. A flicker of happiness emulated out of her eyes. Without thinking twice, she sends it straight for the bastard. If this was any other time in the past, Daikang could easily catch that leg with a grab, but he's in the middle of enjoying himself when his defenses are at his weakest. Therefore, the fact that one of her legs had escaped his binding didn't even register. So, with a bang, Bai Yan gave the world's first award-winning kneecap to the man's crotch. This kick was like ice-cold water, extinguishing any flaming desire he had just moments ago. Going blue, green and white, a raging storm could be seen in his bloodthirsty iris. Bai Yan. You really don't want that leg of yours, eh? Using this brief second of freedom, Bai Yan ignored the question and rushed to rearrange her messy self and loosened dress. Thankfully she made it in time here because there weren't much left on her bottom half before those fingers made it to her. Dicang. Don't think I'm so easy to be picked on. If you weren't trying to force your way with me here I wouldn't have kicked you. How dare you? Don't forget it was you who first tempted me. The piercing pain between his thigh only made his face look even more distorted. Oh, how he wants to rush up there and strangle this woman to death right now. Then all of a sudden, Daikang started to laugh maniacally. It's cruel and cold with an ever-increasing sense of danger in the air around his body. Bai Yan, you better pray that 6 years ago wasn't done by you. Otherwise, we will have hatred of both new and old to clear up. Standing up from the bed, Bai Yan didn't back down and asked haughtily, and what are you going to do about it? I will make you unable to leave the bed day in and day out. Taking 2 steps forward, Daikang pinches the woman on the chin. By then I won't give you mercy even if you beg me at night. All of a sudden, his eyes took notice to the line of blood running down Bai Yan's lip. Wrinkling his brow, you are hurt. Slapping that hand away, Bai Yan rolled her eyes at the stupid question because it's obviously done by him so why ask? Nevertheless, her guilty conscience was starting to act up after thinking it through. It's as the man said, in the beginning it was herself who provoked him, just that she didn't expect Daikang to explode like a raving animal here.